Welcome to the Quantum Cafe and Interstellar Lounge with your host here, the Cosmic Messenger. And it is always a wonderful pleasure to be able to come on and chat with you guys about all things multidimensional, quantum, interstellar, in the magical field that we are living through in this great awakening on Gaia right now. Wow, there's always so much happening right now, and I hope everybody's doing wonderful and well out there during these transformative yet intense times. There's a lot of daily information going around lately. These are the times to download our freedom codes. That's one of my recommendations. I wanted to come on and have a little video today and chat about 12-strand DNA and higher, and all the different variances that we have in those realms, and kind of clarify and assist what it means to activate our DNA, how does it work, why do we have certain strands, what do they do, and all the different versions that take place from Indigo children to ascended masters, and like kind of give an idea of like what's going on here on planet Earth in terms of that. So 12-strand DNA. All right. That's what we're going to chat about today. And also this Quantum Cafe and Interstellar Lounge is a multi-dimensional hub where we can get deep and go into all the wild topics that possibly exist, from our auric field to all chakra systems, transpersonal points, stellar gateways, onto Karana, which, right, that's above our head. That's the galactic cord, to our Merkaba spin factor, dolphin pattern reprogramming. I could go off for hours. So let's get to the topic at hand. Hope everybody's having a beautiful day. Here we go. So 12-strand DNA. So the human, the original human, so we on Gaia, Earth that we live on, originally was at a higher vibration. It was in a different dimension. Known, it's all multidimensional, but it was the fifth dimension. And at some point we dropped down to the third dimension. And this is over evolution, over time, over decisions, over consciousness. Now the original human was on Earth, right? But it was seeded and upgraded throughout its hundreds of millions of years of existing. Did you know that we live in a 950 million year time matrix, or billion? We live in 15 dimensions in incarnational form, and the current one that we're in has 15 dimensions, and it is 950 billion years old, which changes a lot from what you're told and taught in school. You won't get a lot of this information there, not at this point in our existence. And so throughout that time after humans arrived, hundreds of millions of years later, which was still hundreds of millions of years before us now, we were encoded with a 12-strand DNA complex. And that 12-strand DNA complex was the ability to incarnate, enter a body like we're doing right now. I have the body that you're looking at, Derek Pennett, but I'm beyond this body, but it's one of my many forms that my soul animates. And when you have fully activated 12-strand DNA, things not only manifest quicker, instantaneous, and everything's provided, you also have the ability to leave the planet and come back at will. Super cool. You're not stuck under the time loop. Do we all have 12-strand DNA right now? So the original humans are encoded into that. Now, do we all have the 12-strand DNA activated? No, we do not. Some beings do. I wouldn't say it's very common. I would say it's very uncommon right now. We are moving to a state where that will become more common, right? So, not so common. However, we do have the template inside of ourselves, which is really cool. And what we're doing when we work on ourselves in ascension processes, awakening, spiritual upliftment, changing our vibration and energy field, working on self-awareness, alchemical transformation, that all feeds into the same zone, which is helping us light up the dormant DNA that's sitting inside of ourselves through our perceptions, through our consciousness, through our fall, basically. It's all good. It's not a bad thing. It just is what it is. We turned off a lot of these abilities. So we have a 12-strand DNA complex that we're working towards. Now, when indigo children are born, some of you may have heard that term, the first wave was like pre-1980s, right? There's no exact timeline, but there was a wave of first-generation indigo children. And it's a 3-wave process, but it can expand from there and grow because then its tentacles are mixed into society. And the second wave, which I'm a part of, and then the third wave, which is all the children being born right now and ones that came before them in, say the last decade. And so these are the 3 waves. Each of these waves expands on itself before with potential. Doesn't mean you're seeing them acting out their upgraded DNA, but you are seeing more of them activated. And when indigo children come into play and seed themselves into reality, they come in, most humans right now have 2 strands activated. The standard one you've all heard about. Well, these children are born with 3 or 4 strands activated from birth. So it's a bit of an accelerated process, right? Which gives them some additional codex. We'll talk about what turning on those things really mean. But you do know that there's a lot of children these days who are seeing a lot of supernatural activity at a young age, and they're really in tune with it. They're not really scared of it, and it's just kind of normal. Like, oh, I see this entity over there and it's telling me this information and it feels really friendly, and all of these stuff come out. Or, oh, I noticed a portal open, or I felt some energy shift. These are very common. Or even children who have been initiated into Reiki first degree will come in the room and just know exactly where to put their hands and can activate the same amount of energy as an adult can in 30 minutes instead of an hour and a half session. So these abilities are a little bit more unlocked. Then you have the Ascended Masters, and the Ascended Masters are anywhere from 30 to 48 strand activation. So we're talking like supernova upgraded. So that's where honor, downloading wisdom from them, and respecting these amazing beings that have walked on this earth, these ascended masters such as Hilarion, Lao Tzu, Kuan Yin, Kutumi, Christ Consciousness, Saint Germain, Pallas Athena, Lady Nada, right? There's so many of these beings. There's even more than that too. The Melchizedeks, and the list goes on and on and on. These beings are not better than us. It's not looked like that. Oh, you're more powerful, you got more activated. We can take that out of our language. But they have more strands activated, so they have more to offer, more to show us and to do. So this mutation process that we're going through, we can get to that point too. Through evolution, through time, through the human biological field and the plasma universe, atmosphere of Earth, Gaia, the photon band, and all these wild accelerations that we're having. Then there's the fallen angelic Anunnaki hybrid mixes that are going on. So around the times when the human was upgraded to this full 12-strand DNA potential from all these different star systems coming in to create the ultimate fused human. That time, which you hear the stories of the fallen angels, and it goes into all sorts of different terms, Lucifer, all these other things. It was a choice that these beings made because they wanted to control a bit of the matrix. And so they stuck themselves in 9, 10, or 11. Okay? 9, 10, or 11. Strands of DNA. Locked themselves in there by choice and are choosing to still not come out of these zones. The reptilian, draconian shapeshifters, all that stuff you hear about, right? The realms of the violent abductees and all that stuff. That is very real. Majority of this stuff is heartwarming and amazing, but there is some stuff along the way that is critical to look at because it is incredibly distorted. And that distortion came from this timeline, and that has interbred into humanity, and it has intermixed itself. So they can't quite get to that 12-strand complex until they choose to awaken themselves out of that false matrix. Interesting, right? So these starseed DNAs, these reactivations of the codes, they're inside of ourselves. The universe is a biomutation process, and we can take an active role in that. It's not passive. We're not these powerless creators that we think we are. We can activate those strands. What happens when you activate some of these strands? Well, that's when your extrasensory perception, full sensory perception, and abilities, supernatural, supernature, come out to play. And they can take a multitude of different forms. A DNA strand can be the full integration of your higher self within you. It can be the integration of all of your oversoul parts. It can be the ability to levitate, to jump really high up, 30 meters in the air. It can be that your third eye is glowing so much that your forehead begins to mutate a little bit. And many beings who are going through these processes look at their bodies from even a few years ago who take they're just like, let's get activated. Let's go metaphysics, and I'm going to shift as much as possible. And they will experience their body changing, becoming younger, not aging as fast, vibrancy, their forehead elongating, all sorts of wild changes. I mean, it is off the charts. Expanding your DNA gives, like I was saying before, gives you the ability to incarnate at will with keeping the body. Those kinds of abilities are generally not when you activate one new strand, but when you finish a sequence, a template. All 12 activated, right? 12 and 12, 24, right? Stuff like that. And go to these next levels. We haven't received humans on Earth what all of these strands past 12 are, and the full totality of what these 12 do are all about. And we will receive that more of that information as we get more curious, as we expand our surroundings, and as we go inside and look deep into ourselves and find that magic within that we want to know. And that when we say activate as a majority of humans on Earth, let's say, I'm just throwing something out there, in the coming decades, we all got 3 or 4 activated. Okay, cool. And all the children are being born with it. We're passing it on. Well, then we'll start to learn what the 5th and 6th do, right? What orders they come in. But cleaning up the toxins on Earth, in the air, the soil, the water, in all of our household products, all that stuff, that plays a role in dimming down our DNA. We are there from the very depths of the Earth to the outer atmosphere. It is the most pollution you could ever possibly stick in. That's another way to activate those DNAs. Perhaps you start, seeing more energy waves and feeling your aura within on a constant, regular basis. And you're in touch with your astral twin and your etheric body. You've activated another strand of DNA. And so forth and so forth. You're able to take a material object and duplicate it. That's another form of it. The human body is equal to the technology devices that we use elsewhere. And that's these fantastical realms that we live in. So by going down these routes and getting curious is how we're going to bring in the Akashic records to open up more of this information for us. Because everything comes at a rate of speed that we can handle, that we can manifest, that we can work with, right? For some beings, you can't just go right to 12 right off the bat. It's just not going to work like that. Some might have been incarnated with 10 activated, right? So it's some stuff to think about in terms of how that flows into the universe. And DNA is the mitochondria and the very makeup of all of the raw information that combines all of our systems of light, sound, vibration, sacred geometry, consciousness, superconsciousness. It has that encoded inside of itself, and it's always morphing and changing, but it does not lose its original, undistorted, perfect vibrational complex. It's in everything in the universe, like the cells and the whole bit. So we are active participators, because I use a lot of terms like time to mutate into your highest being you can possibly be. But it's true. You are helping to mutate that by asking for it, by wanting it, by breathing it. Okay? So that was some fun, cool information about what the DNA is all about and all of these other fantastical things that we can look forward to seeing what happens in the future. We're going to live so much longer. If the humans of Earth can get out of a few of these key distorted systems that are slowing down our mind expansion in the mental sphere, mental body, and the pollutants, and just add quite a bit more metaphysics and spirituality in an open sense, non-controlling, it is going to be amazing how much longer we're going to live. We're going to mix that with a little bit of tech, and it's going to be quite an exciting future. So hang on for the ride. We're talking, 300-400 years longer, working towards 800-900 year total. Now that blows your mind. So thanks for listening. Just wanted to come on, have a quick video about the DNA complex and all of the codex that it provides and the magic and wonders that it brings into our stellar beings. So thank you all for listening again. Link to my services will be down at the bottom of the video. Please go check them out. If you want to book a session with me, get in contact. All of my information's on my webpage. It's only a click away. So thank you. Have a beautiful rest of your day, and we'll talk to you soon. Take care, everyone.